Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to some more 0 Hour, and welcome to a quick tutorial on how to improve your settings in 0 Hour. And I think you'll get two benefits from this. Not only will you make your game look and feel better, but also I believe it will help improve your micro and may help increase your skill level. So without further ado, I've got 6 quick tips. I'll tell you how this came about. First of all, it's basically the last 2 or 3 days I formatted my PC, I got a brand new hard drive, installed a fresh version of Windows 10, and I lost all of my 0 Hour settings, and I couldn't remember. I could remember some of them, and some of them are included in here, but also there's like 2 or 3 things in here that I actually didn't remember. And as such, my game looked and felt horrible. My micro was worse. I was losing units. And a big part of that is what you're used to. So I believe if you're playing on the old settings and you're used to that, then obviously you still can become good. But I'm a big believer that if you actually, after 10 or 15 years of experience of playing this game, these are my optimal and best settings, and I believe it will help, not only help me, but I believe it will help you as well. Like there's things in here about the mouse DPI and sensitivity that I use. I've got a few quick tips for you and maybe help increase your skill level, your micro, maybe help you save some units, but also definitely will at least make your game look better. So yeah, after 10 or 15 years experience with this game, you can trust me in saying that I've tried and tested loads of different settings, and this is what I've come up with. So save you the hassle if you just get in the game, or you're just starting out and you want to know what the best go-to settings are, choose these. But then obviously feel free to flex up and down. Maybe you're maybe you do use Xbox, maybe you want to change your Nvidia settings if your computer can't quite handle it, or stuff like that. So without further ado, I'm going to get through these. First of all, we're going to talk about disabling the Xbox game bar, which I believe can improve your performance. It's on as standard in Windows 10, so if you've never heard of it before, chances are it may well be on and running in the background, taking up computer resources and dropping your FPS inside of games. We're going to talk about Nvidia settings to make your game look a little bit better. We're going to talk about monitor refresh rate, and if you can increase that. You may not be able to if your monitor is only capped at 60 FPS or 60 Hertz, in which case we'll come on to that. Then we've got about Gentool FPS inside of the game and how it's normally capped to 60 and you could increase it. We've got about my DPI and sensitivity for my mouse, and also the HD control bar, which is just purely cosmetic and just for making your control bar down at the bottom of the screen look a lot better. I get a lot of questions saying, well, how come your game looks so crisp and smooth and stuff like that? And I believe if you do some of these settings, it may not cover everything in here, but over the next month or so, I'm going to be putting out more of these videos and trying to help you get close to my settings as possible, and or other settings you may want to consider. Maybe there's some things that I don't even use myself. So without further ado, then we're going to get straight into this. So we're going to disable the Xbox game bar, or just quickly check actually that if it's enabled or not. You may have already disabled it, or it may have come on your PC as disabled. So to check this, we're going to go to the start menu. I'm going to click this little cog here. It's or whatever it is. Yeah, it's a cog. I'm going to click on settings. Yo, Allah. Hussein, welcome, man. So we're going to click settings. Then we're going to go to gaming. It's obviously all on Windows 10, by the way. So we're going to go to gaming here. And now you've got this Xbox game bar. Now, as standard, well, I just did a fresh install of the latest Windows I downloaded from the Microsoft website a couple of days ago. Did a fresh install, and this was on. Now, I never use an Xbox ever, not since like, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, and I used to have it in my family home. We used to play the Xbox sometimes, but I never connected to my PC. There's no reason why you would really want this on in the background if you've never heard of it. So as standard, this will come as on. Yours will be a blue button there. You want to click that to off, and then on the left hand side where it says like captures, all of this stuff will be on as standard as well. So you see here, your screen should look like this, and if it is, you want to turn all of it off. So where it says on there, you want to turn that off. So it's background recording, you want that off. Audio recorded, you want that off. Basically, it's like game capture software as far as I understand it. I've never used it myself, but it definitely does hinder performance. I mean, you only have to Google it, and there's loads of search results on there about how it hinders performance. It's just taking up unnecessary resource. And I've had first-hand experience as well where I've dropped FPS in games and I've turned this off, and instantly it just had a slight increase. So yeah, we're going to go to game mode there. If your game mode is there on as well, you want to turn that off. And in Xbox networking, there's nothing you need to do there, I don't think. It's just those 3 tabs there. So yes, make sure everything is off, and your performance of your game, or all games and your PC in general, should be theoretically a little bit higher. So that's the first one. The second one is about making your 0 Hour game specifically look better, and that's by, if you've got an Nvidia graphics card and if you've got a strong PC and you want to make your game just look that little bit better, then you can do this. We're going to right click on the desktop, and we're going to go to Nvidia control panel. And when you go to Nvidia control panel, you will get this up. So you may be pre-selected on like one of these. It doesn't matter which one you're already on. Let's say you're on this one or whatever. The one you want to find is called Manage 3D Settings. So on mine there, it's the second one there under 3D Settings. If this is hidden, you just need to click the little plus. So we're going to go to Manage 3D Settings. I'm going to click there. Now, come up with this screen. This is your global settings here, but you don't want to do global settings. You don't want to mess with your whole computer and every game that you play with. We only want to check general 0 out here. So you're going to go to Program Settings. And in this list here, I've already got it selected, which is Command and Conquer General 0 out there at the top. But in this list, you want to go through it and you want to find your game General 0. If it's not there, I believe you can use the Add button. You can add. And then you can find it, add a selected program, browse to it and add it. And then you basically want to get it in this list and get it selected with the correct path to the exe in the root folder. You don't want to do it as like the shortcut on your desktop if you are adding it. Now, all your settings will be here as standard, and the ones in bold, I believe, are the ones that I've edited. So basically, you want to copy my settings. If you want your game to look as crisp as possible, I believe these are the absolute best settings. So anisoropic filtering, if that's how you say it, is on 16 times. I believe on as normal, it's either off or application controlled, or a lot lower anyway. You want to put that to 16. Where it says anti-aliasing mode, I might be butchering some of these names. I think it's anti-aliasing. Override any application, you want to set that to, and you want to put this setting here to 8 times. And this setting here, transparency to 8 times, super sample. Now, I didn't realize, but actually these settings here, I've actually got in boulders as well. So I don't know if I've changed them or not, but they're the settings that I'm using. I've got it on clamp and off. And I mean, my game looks super smooth. There's no problems with it at all. Now, the thing is, if you do use these settings, you've got to remember inside of your game, might as well cover it now. We'll just open 0. Inside of your game, you're going to have to go into the options, and you're going to have to go to custom over here. Click on custom, or whatever your option. Let's say yours is set to high there. You're just going to click the arrow and go down to custom regardless. Now, there are all the settings that I use here. You want to make sure heat effects is disabled. So the one downside to this is that, you know, like a microwave tank, it has that really cool, as standard, the heat effect around the outside of it. And it looks really funky and it looks really smart. But with these new settings, your computer will not be able to display that. And if you do see a microwave tank with that circle around it, with the heat effect around it, and you do view it, your screen will just go black because your computer won't be able to render it. But I've weighed up the pros and cons of it. That microwave tank is quite a rare unit. Yes, the effect around it does look cool, but you disable that one and keep those settings that I just showed you, and your game will look so much better for it. So highly recommend using them settings. Of course, if your PC can't handle it, feel free to flex these down a little bit and find out what you think is right. But trust me, if you just Google the difference between these settings and the new settings, or if you just boot up a game before and after these settings, you will see the difference. Everything is more crisp. You don't see any jagged edges and stuff like that. This is the absolute best settings you can have for 0 to make it look as HD as possible. Okay, next one is monitor refresh rate. So if your monitor is like a really old monitor, chances are it's only 60 Hertz, which means the monitor that you're looking at is only refreshing 60 times per second, as I understand it. Whereas some monitors are capable of more, maybe they're capable of 80 or 144 Hertz. Some of them are capable of like random numbers like 269, and then there's a 244. There's all kind of crazy ones, but the way to check this, first of all, if you just right click on the desktop and go to display settings, so we're going to go here. And then you come up with this one. Now, I've got 3 screens. If you're wondering why I've got 1, 2, 3 there, maybe you just have 1, or maybe you've got 2 screens, but that's why mine might look a little bit different. If you scroll down to the bottom, and you're going to click advanced settings, that's here. It's the second one from the bottom. And you're going to click that. Now, I've got 3 screens, as I said. You may only have 1, but I'm going to select my primary one, the one I play games on, which is my middle one, which is this one. And down here, you can see all the settings, you've resolution and stuff like that. Don't really care too much about that one. But the thing we're looking at here is the refresh rate. So you can see here, your monitor might be on that one as standard as 60. If it can go higher, I recommend putting it higher to the very max, or maybe, yeah, to the max. If it's capable of 144, I recommend put it on 144. Your screen might go black for a second while it just refreshes, and it might say, do you want to keep these settings? just click yes, and then boot up any game, especially like FPS games. This makes a big difference in. All the pros are playing on like 244 hertz monitors, or at least 144, and they all rave about it. Now the thing is, when you first go to it, and you start playing Zero, or you start playing an FPS game, it'll just feel more smooth, and it'll feel cool. It won't seem like a massive leap in technology. It won't seem like night and day. But the way it will seem like night and day is if you play on 144 hertz for like a year, say, and then you go back to 60, then it will seem like absolutely awful. So that's when you see the big difference. So in jumping, you don't notice that much of a massive difference. I mean, some will. I personally, it just felt more smooth and more clear when I was scrolling around the map. But the biggest difference you see is if you then play on that for a while and then go back to 60, it's so horrible that you will never ever go back, and you will always want 144 and higher ever since. The biggest difference you notice is when you're scrolling around the map really fast. So in 0 hour, you use right-click scroll. And if you're not using right-click scroll, I highly recommend you use it. You can get around the map faster and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the refresh rate. And then what you want to do then is if we open up the game again, so we're going to boot back into 0. We're just going to start any normal game. So it's going to go the way I always test things. I like to go into network. I'm just going to create, and I'm just going to press start here. Okay, so you'll probably notice, I mean, if you compare my screen to your screen, with all them settings that we've just done, you can see like my dozer around the edges, all the edges are really crisp. Around the CC, all the edges are really crisp. I mean, we're still talking about a 17-year-old game, but if you have all those anisoropic settings and everything is set back to default, then your game, I can guarantee your edges will not look as smooth and stuff as that. So the thing we're going to check here is actually up here at the top left. So some people query what these numbers mean. If you've got Gentool, you'll have these numbers. If you don't have Gentool, you definitely want to get Gentool, because I think that enables you to see more of the screen as well, enables like widescreen and higher resolutions and stuff. So we've got two numbers here. 10 is the ping, or the latency actually inside of 0. That's like, if it's like 50, that means you've probably got a lagger inside of your game. Because I'm here just by myself, it's obviously 10, which is the lowest you can have. This yellow number here is 112, and that's my FPS inside of the game. So whilst my monitor is physically capable and refreshing 144 hertz a second, the 112 there is what the game, as I understand it, is what the game is putting out. So I actually have it on 110, and the reason I only have it on 110, I can go higher. It can even go up to 240, which what it does, it makes my scroll speed really, really crazy when I'm going around. And it also, like, if you see any trees on the map, they also sway really, really fast. So what I did, on standard, it was on a 60. But what I did was I just increased it. Like, I increased it first to 70. That felt better. I increased it like 75, 80, and eventually I found the sweet spot for me was 110. So if your computer allows you to put that up, which I think it should, then try up in that, and you should see the game is more smooth when you're scrolling around. You should be able to just everything just feels more smooth, especially with the refresh rate I did on my desktop as well. So that's one reason. I mean, with that refresh rate increased as well, especially the one on the desktop that I just talked about. The other thing is, if you put it back to 60, you can see like when the cursor is moving around the screen, you can kind of see it like tracing. Like you can kind of see like, I mean, a video is just a load of pictures refreshed at you really fast, and you can kind of see that happening as you're moving the cursor. But when you're on 144 hertz, it feels like literally real time. Like, as I'm moving that cursor, there's no like lag or anything like that. Feels super smooth. So yeah, I recommend doing that, and you will find probably you'll be able to select units better. You'll probably be able to see that units will no longer be also having that same kind of dashed cursor effect, like V's and stuff that move quite fast across the screen will now be reporting back to your eyes and be able to be processed by your brain and be able to micro a little bit faster. I'm not saying it's going to be like make you pro overnight, but after 10 or 15 years of experience playing this game and messing with the settings and different computers and stuff, trust me when I say this is the absolute best settings. It's best settings for me, but yeah, everyone's different. Maybe you've got different settings, but that's that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is mouse sensitivity and DPI. So we're just going to quit out of the game completely. Now, first of all, we're going to go to the start menu and we're going to type in mouse. And we're going to go to mouse settings here. So this is the settings that I have. We're going to go to additional mouse options over here. And we're going to go to pointers. No, we're not going to go to pointers. We're going to go to pointer options. And we're going to copy these settings. This is the settings that I use. I mean, enhanced pointer precision, you want to have that off. And is there anything about mouse acceleration in here? Pointer shadow, you of course want to have that off. Don't think mouse acceleration is in here, but you want to have that enhanced pointer precision off. And now there's a few things here. If you have this on the exact middle setting, I believe it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So like what that physically means, I think, is if you move your mouse an inch across the mouse pad, then it should move an inch across the screen. I personally have it set to 1 below that, which I believe is 5 out of 11. So I've got it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just because I found that's the sweet spot. So while it might be recommended to have it on that number 6, and that may be the standard, I've actually moved it down and I've messed with my DPI until I found it 100% comfortable. So for now, I've got it on position 5 of 11. That's where I have mine. So, but then, as far as I understand it, again, if you go to your then mouse drivers, so you may not have mouse drivers. Maybe you've got like a really old mouse, or maybe just not a gaming mouse or whatever. I personally have got a gaming mouse that then enables you to install this software. The mouse I've got is called a Final Mouse 2 Cape Town, I believe. It's quite a rare mouse. I don't know if you can even buy it anymore because it's sold out so fast. I had to buy it on the secondhand, sorry, not secondhand, but I bought it off the, what do you call it, secondary market. When someone's bought it, added a profit to it, I paid way over the odds for it. And then this is basically the settings I have. So where it says enhanced pointer precision, you want to have that off. If you see anything anywhere about mouse acceleration, I can't remember where that setting is. Generally, you want to have that off. But actually, yeah, mouse acceleration there, I've got it on 4. So actually, yeah, I take that back. I mean, I've played with these over and over again until I found these right. So whilst these settings are decent for me, for anyone wondering what settings I have, this is what I have. I mean, for you may want to have something different, but yeah, I believe as close to these settings as possible for me makes my micro a little bit better. I don't believe having your sensitivity to way too high is going to help you with micro MVs and stuff like that. So personally, this is what I have: 800 DPI, mouse acceleration, which I think that is linked to what I just changed there. I think that's linked. I think that's the same thing. So yeah, that's my mouse settings. But of course, everyone is different. Some people, like on FPS games and whatever, they have like a really high sensitivity in general. So when they're moving their mouse, they can literally just move it a little inch and they're already looking behind them. There are some pro players in like CSGO that do that, and there's some people that have it on really low sensitivity, in which case you might be able to micro better with a lower sensitivity. But also you might, if you suddenly need to go from over here to micro some other Vs or whatever you need to micro, then it might take longer of an action for you to move it over there physically with your arm, and it can lead to fatigue if you're playing for a certain amount of hours. So yeah, they're my settings. But with mouse DPI and sensitivity and everything, it's all like personal preference. I don't recommend just copying mine outright. Maybe you want to start with this as a base, and then you can flex it up and down as you see fit. Okay, the sixth and final one is about HD control bar for 0 hour. So for this one, you want to copy this link here. I'll put it in the description. I'll put this whole thing in the description. But with this one, this is just cosmetics, not going to make you play better. Well, probably. You want to copy this, and then you want to read the README and install these 2 files that I'm going to show you in a second. So we're going to open Google Chrome. We're going to paste this in in the control bar, and then we are going to read this README. Now this README will tell you all about it. So it's basically going to increase your control bar. You know where it shows like build power plant, build a barracks, all that kind of stuff. All of those pictures will look a lot more crisp and a lot more HD. So it says there this pack will increase the texture quality by 150 to 200% on the control bar. It uses a texture that's 4 times larger. Blah blah blah. So basically what you want to do is get 2 files. There's 2 different files here, and then you want to paste them in your install directory. So we're going to go back here. We're going to go into this big file here, and we're going to download this one here called base 400 control bar HD base 0 hour. and that's going to go to my desktop or wherever your download is. And then the next one, you're going to install your language. So if you're playing in China, you want to have the Chinese one, unless you're German in China. Then you will probably want to have the German one. But whatever game version you're playing on, I'm going to use the English one. So then I've got these two files here. Just going to minimize that. I'm going to cut these two files, and then I'm going to go into my C drive. So my C drive's here. I'm going to go into program files. But if you've got a 64-bit computer, I believe it installs the x86 file folder. I'm going to go in here. You want to find the game, Origin Games, Command and Conquer, or whatever your install directory is. It might be different. You might not have the Origin version. And then you basically want to paste in here. So I've already got them in here. So I'm just going to paste again and just replace the same files. And if I just refresh, they should go here. So I've got these here. There are these files here as well, but they're for the observer mode that I do use. If you're just playing and you're not like a commentator and stuff, you just want to stick with these. So that observer thing, maybe I'll do a video about that in the future. But what you'll notice now is that with these two files installed, again, I'll boot up the game just to show you. So we jumped into the game now, and what you'll see is that all these icons here have a much higher resolution. So actually on that website that I just showed you a second ago, on Gentool, if you go here and go to this sample, you can actually see here between the before and after. So you can see before, you just look there, everything's just not quite as crisp as down here. Like you see that power plant there and how crisp it looks, all the details on it, whereas there it's still kind of HD there, but it just looks a more crisp on this version down here, as I'm sure you'll agree. So yeah, there's six quick tips. Well, I say quick tips. We're here for 22 minutes on this video, but hopefully it helps some of you. Even if it just helps one of you or helps 10 of you, I'm happy. And yeah, if you got any questions, let me know in the comments. But remember, all of this is personal preference. Apart from like upgrading this to HD, the mouse DPI, the refresh rate, all of that kind of stuff is personal preference. So if you set these settings and you decide against it, it makes you play worse or whatever, then obviously go back to what you're used to and what you had before. But I do recommend, if you're going to change any settings, play with it for like maybe a few weeks or maybe just a week at least, just to see properly, because chances are the first game you play with new mouse settings, the first game you play, you're probably going to play bad. But after a while, it's about what new peak can you reach, and can you even reach that new peak, or were you at your peak higher before with your old settings? So yeah, I'm going to start rambling now. Let me know if you got any comments in the description, and peace out. GG.